Good morning. As you can see this morning, this is not brought to you from my man cave. This is brought to you from Milk Hill, which is the highest point in Wiltshire. And this is where you're likely to find me in my spare time if I'm not sitting in my man cave working on motorbikes and cars. I'm here for a reason this morning, aside from the fact that I walk Millie, here she is, every morning. And it's part of my essential routine. It's my thinking time. It's where I think about strategy, and I think about the work that I need to do, and I think about what I need to write, and I have clear thoughts and creative time. But there's a really good reason why I'm here as well, and that's because this place is precious to me. And what I want to talk to you about this morning, fundamentally, is the difference between advance and reform. Because what I get all the time at the moment is people saying to me, well, you've left reform, we understand why you left reform, but why have you gone to advance? Surely you're just splitting the vote and helping other parties to win. And the truth is that nothing could be further from the truth. That advance and reform are actually fundamentally different in very many respects, structurally and in terms of their policy and outlook and ambitions. And I want to quickly explain to you why, how, and why it's relevant to where we are now. And I'll tackle that point first of all. When I got involved in politics, I didn't get involved in politics for reasons of ego. I certainly didn't want to be part of an overriding authoritarian top-down project. I have a fundamental belief that politicians should be elected to serve and not elected to rule. And anybody who's ever heard me give a speech will recognise that phrase. It's something I actually picked up from Margaret Thatcher in the 1980s. It was an idiom that she continually reinforced and which really caught my attention. When I got involved with reform, I believed that that was true of reform. I thought that they existed to serve and not to rule. And that was certainly true up until Nigel Farage got back involved with the party on the front line a few weeks before the general election. If you look at reform now, sadly, nothing could be further from the truth. Reform is fundamentally not a democratically organised political party. You aren't a true member of reform. You don't have rights as a member of reform. All of the power of reform is still held at the top of the party by two men. And that's reflected in its policies and in the way that it behaves, not just towards the world outside, but also to its own members, officers, and internally. If you're a bright person, if you have ideas and something to contribute, if you work off your own initiative, if you're a high achiever, if you're good at communicating, you're not welcome at reform. This is a lesson that it took me a very long time to understand. And it's a lesson that only became true after the return of Nigel Farage. What Nigel Farage wants from his candidates is simply servants. It's people who are little grey people, who don't have any background, who've never said anything, who've never stood up for anything, who don't have strong opinions, who aren't great communicators, who won't share a stage with him, who won't rock the boat, who'll fundamentally just sit there, be quiet, and do what they're told. And that's not for me. It's not for very many people who want to contribute actively to a process that they feel is vital for the future of our country and all that they hold dear. You can't possibly believe that you exist to serve and not exist to rule if you're not able to participate in the fundaments of the process as a candidate or a member of a political party. We see this in reform in its policy. No policy comes from the bottom up. All policy is dictated from Nigel Farage and Zia Youssef down. And Zia Youssef now is actually given the title of head of policy. So that's it. It's fed down to the members and to the candidates, and they're dutifully told what the policies are and what they're allowed to communicate and how they're allowed to communicate it. No initiative required, and no candidate or member is able to talk to the media or communicate on behalf of the party unless they're instructed to do so and given the clearest brief and information on what they're permitted to communicate. Sooner or later, the electorate's going to wake up to this. They're going to understand that what they think they're getting from a candidate is not what they actually receive. That rather than having somebody who's passionate, who speaks clearly, and who communicates with initiative, who stands up for them, who speaks in front of audiences, and is an intrinsic part of something that they consider themselves to be a part of, they're not actually going to get that. What you actually get is a mouthpiece for Nigel Farage. And that's going down right even to local government levels. And that's one of the main reasons why you see so many Reform councillors becoming ostracised after they have spoken out. They've done something, they felt that they want to be involved, they've communicated, shown initiative, and then rapidly found that they're pushed out of the party as a result. And very many of them are then coming over and treading the same path that I've trodden. They're coming over to Advance, because Advance is not structured that way. Advance truly is focused on existing to serve and not existing to rule. Ideas are actively encouraged. Members are actually given a URL of a website, which I can post in the comments here, in the links at the end, where they're encouraged to put ideas forward. And the party's established a college, and anybody can apply to become a member of that college. And what that college is a broad section of people from across society who look at those ideas, who look at policy from a macro level, and who will then put ideas forward which can be turned into policies and ultimately legislation. Advance is structured from the word go to be truly democratic. All the power in Advance lies with the members and will lie with the candidates and officers of the party. And anybody in Advance can be removed at any time if there is a democratic will for that to be done. That's as true for people right at the top as it is for people right at the bottom. And all of this actually has a deeper significance in the way that politics is heading in this country, and probably more widely internationally. Because increasingly people are starting to recognise, to understand, that the old linear form of politics, the left and the right, is less and less important to the future of our political system and is less relevant to the way that politics is going to be done in the future. What's becoming more and more significant in politics now is not so much the linear left and the right, it's the north and south divide between authoritarianism and libertarianism. And it's that crucial divide which is reflected in the main difference between Reform and Advance. Reform is an authoritarian party. It is as authoritarian as the Labour Party or any other party. Advance is structured to be different, and putting the power in the hands of its members and of its candidates and officers is evidence of that. Rather than being told what to think and what to say and what to do and what the policies are by the party in an authoritarian manner, Advance works in the opposite direction. It exists to serve and not to rule. It's fundamentally libertarian in its view at the bottom of that north-south divide, rather than authoritarian at the top. So if you're thinking in terms of a party that's going to actually serve you, that's going to listen to you, that's going to do what you want it to do, that's going to reflect your fears, your hopes, your aspirations, and is going to form legislation that's based on the ideas of the people that vote for it, rather than being a top-heavy, looking down organisation that tells you what you can have, rather than existing to give you what you wish, then really what you should be doing is what I have done and what countless others are increasingly doing, and looking towards Advance and not Reform. That's why I'm here. Fundamentally, the message I wanted to give you here is why I got involved in politics in the first place. And why did I get involved in politics in the first place? Because I was desperate to serve, not because I wanted to be part of an authoritarian organisation like the Labour Party, which believes that it exists to rule. I'm here because this is my home. I love this place. It's one of many places that I come to every day, where I walk, I think, and I enjoy where I've come from, the place I was born, the place where I belong. I had a long career in which I travelled the world and worked for big PR companies, and I lived in cities and lived in hotels, and I dreamt of being back in this place. And this is in my heart, and this is what I exist for. I exist to serve this beautiful place, the other beautiful places around it, my England, my Wiltshire, my home, and I am here to do the most important job that I will ever do in my life, and that is to serve and give what I can to preserve all of this and all of the people who belong here. Advance exists to do that, and Reform does not. And that's why I'm now proudly a member and advocate of Advance, and that's what I will focus on serving in the future. Come and join me with Advance. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, ring the bell, and I look forward to seeing you in another video very soon. Goodbye from Milk Hill.